Hey, what's up, you guys? Bloody Jacob here to bring you a movie review. This time we're going to be talking about 13 Hours, The Secret Soldiers of Benghazi. And I just watched this one last night. I actually already own it on Blu-ray and DVD right here. And this is a little bit different than the movies I usually review. You guys usually see me reviewing, like superhero movies, horror movies, things of that nature. But what initially drew me to the movie was not just like of course, the story of what actually happened during that instant, with Libya, the compound there and such. I'm not going to pretend to know all the details about that. I'm not going to go too deep into the conspiracy of all that in this video. But John Krasinski stars in this film, and of course he was in The Office as Jim Halpert. He is really impressive in this movie, and the whole cast does a really good job, in my opinion. But like I said, it's based off of a real event that happened. It's based off of a novel that was written about it. Basically during an attack on a U.S. compound in Libya. Basically this team ends up struggling to deal with all the chaos and all the waves of terrorist attacks and such, and trying to make sense out of what's happening and who they can actually trust here, who actually knows more than they're letting on, things of that nature. And that's one of the biggest praises I can give this movie, is that it feels very real. It feels very realistic to not just how it would have went, but how just the panic and chaos of it all. I thought they showed that really well. Just how isolated but also just overwhelmed this whole situation was. I just thought they really portrayed that very well in the movie. And that's the story. It's basically a group of guys who they do try to make us care about to an extent. Trying to survive this. And of course, obviously, you do feel for the real men and women that had to go through this in real life. But how does it do in the movie with trying to make us feel for these, movie versions of these people? I think they did a pretty decent job. Like I said, the cast does fairly well. With obvious hot, you have guys like David Constable playing Bob, who is on Breaking Bad as Gale, if you guys remember that. You have David Denman, who is also on The Office as Roy. He actually does a very good job in this one. He plays Dave Boone. You even have Toby Stephens in this from Black Sails, which he's a fantastic actor, by the way, as Glenn, or Bub Doherty. Doherty, I should say. Sorry if I mispronounce the names. And then you also have James Badge Dale, who plays Tyrone, or Roan Woods. And you get the sense that these guys do have a camaraderie among them. You get the sense that they've worked together before. You get the sense that they all just don't really want to be there, and you really do end up feeling for them. But we'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute or two. But the highlight acting wise for me in the movie was definitely John Krasinski as Jack Silva. I've really liked John Krasinski as an actor ever since I've seen him in The Office. Of course, he's funny on The Office, but he's always more of the relatable guy who would pull, pranks sometimes and such. And John Krasinski just oozes relatability. You can really relate to him and understand him. And I just thought that quality about him as an actor, and maybe as a person too, was just perfect for the role he was in this movie. He was able to show the elements of his character very well. That's obviously something all these guys have in common. They all really don't want to be there. They all want to be back home with their families. We see little shots of all of them, talking to their families on webcam and such. And I do think the movie succeeded with showing us that. And you see John Krasinski's wife, Jack's wife, back home. She's just being overwhelmed by all the kids, and fearing having to raise them on her own. And then apparently they have another one on the way. So of course, these are definitely qualities, our men and women uniform do think about, I'm sure each time they're out there, making the ultimate risk and sacrifice and such. I've seen, this movie did get mixed reviews. But I look on sites like IMDb or even just other sites like that. People do write reviews saying they actually have military experience, and they think this movie was a credit and honored what happened there. So apparently it did succeed in trying to do what it was trying to do. So I think this movie does deserve some credit. And like I said, they show the panic and chaos of it all very well. There's a couple big deaths in the movie, one in particular. Of course, this is going to have spoilers. Roan ends up being killed, and he sort of came off like our main character other than Jack or John Krasinski's character. So it was a big shock, but you almost expected someone to die. Like one of the bigger, more focused characters in the movie. And I didn't know who exactly made it out going into it either. I unfortunately didn't keep up with it the way I should have when it happened. But I knew that all of them obviously weren't going to make it out. Because you see, when I watched this movie, I wanted to look at it from like a real perspective, trying to think of what actually happened, but I also just wanted to enjoy it as a movie as well, which you should be able to do. And John Krasinski, he kind of picked apart politicians trying to use this movie as like leverage in their campaigns right now. And I understand him not wanting that movie to just be used for that. It's not what it was made for. To shift one candidate away from possibly being elected or whatever. That's not what this movie's for, and I do think it did a good job of honoring them for the most part, the actual people that went through this. And it gives them a lot of credit at the end of the movie. And like I said, John Krasinski just oozes relatability, and it really shows in this movie. They do concentrate on the other guys quite a bit as well, but there's a scene towards the end when it's all finally over. You see John Krasinski, Jack, call his wife, and just his acting, this is very emotional. It's really, really well done, his part and everyone else's part too. And the action itself, like I said, it's chaotic, really intense. You feel like there's strategies, there's tactics and such from both sides of it as they're trying to hold out here. So I think I showed that pretty well. The director, it was Michael Bay, and it wasn't like over-the-top explosions all over the place either. There were explosions, but it wasn't like your Michael Bay Transformers explosions or anything like that. It was a lot more realistic and definitely worked for this movie. And I think it's a credit to Michael Bay. It should give him a little bit more respect after the stuff he's been doing elsewhere. Other than that, there's not a whole lot more to say about this movie. It was good for what it was. It's definitely a very good war type of film. I haven't seen as many of those as I should, but I remember seeing like Saving Private Ryan back when that was out and such. My brother and dad would watch that all the time. I need to go back and watch that sometime. I've seen a couple other movies like that, and I think this was one of the better ones for sure. I say it honors the actual incident, and I feel like, although I'm not like the most versed in what actually happened detail by detail, I do think they portrayed a real soldier's struggle pretty well. John Krasinski's great in the movie. Everyone else is pretty good too, and the action is intense and chaotic. It gives you the right feeling for it. So yeah, I think you guys should check this one out if you haven't already. I am happy I bought this, even for just John Krasinski and the fact that they show everything pretty well. John Krasinski just really has a great range as an actor. I'd love to see him in more stuff. At one point, I think he was actually considered for Captain America, and honestly, I think he would have made a better Captain America than Chris Evans, but that's just me, maybe. But yeah, really good role for him, good movie overall. Let me know what you guys thought about it. If there's anything else you want me to talk about or mention, feel free to leave a comment below. I'd love to talk about more with you guys. Again, I'm not pretending to know everything about the actual incident or anything, so don't really try to pick apart if I got anything wrong. But I do think it honored what they did as far as I know, and just a good movie, with or without it being real or not. Obviously it was, but I mean, if it happened or not, I think it would still be considered a good movie. That's what I'm saying. But anyway, follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and look for me on swirlwood.com. Catch you guys next time, and peace.